Gullah people are the descendants of Africans who were enslaved and brought to the New World to work. On the Sea Island rice plantations where they worked, slaves from diverse ethnic backgrounds interacted, causing their various cultural traditions to mingle, eventually coalescing into a new culture which today is called Gullah and sometimes Geechee. The Gullah slaves were unique in how isolated they were from the white population. One reason for this was how susceptible white planters were to many tropical diseases the slaves had inherited resistance to. Another reason is how geographically isolated the Sea Islands were at the time. Before the first bridges were built, starting in the 1920s, the Sea Islands were only accessible from the mainland by boat. This seclusion allowed the Gullah community's distinct language and cultural traditions to survive. In more recent years, rural gentrification and coastal development has threatened the continued survival of the culture. The enclosure of lands hindered the Gullah residents' subsistence agriculture, hunting, and fishing practices. Increases in property taxes forced many residents out of their homes. Many moved away, and those who stayed took minimum wage service sector jobs in the resort industry. In the 1970s, the construction of I-95 stimulated the rate of growth along the South Carolina coast even further. The population of the South Carolina Lowcountry increased 150% from 1950 to 2000. The rest of the country only increased 86% during the same period. Migrants are enticed to the Lowcountry by its many aesthetic and recreational amenities, including the beaches, intercoastal waterways, and country club facilities like golf courses.
The Gullah Geechee culture has been designated as one of 11 most endangered cultures within our country, and it's disappearing fast.
One component of Gullah heritage under threat is its distinct Creole language.
For a long time, many people looked upon it as bad language, when in fact it's the language of the Gullah Geechee people, who are descendants of the West Africans who were enslaved and brought to this country. That was their way of communicating.
In 2005, an edition of the New Testament translated into Gullah was released in an effort to promote the language.
But one stranger will come from Samaria, been a travel along that road. When he get there and he see the man what a robber beat up, he feel too sorry for him. He gone over to the man, he pour medicine, oil and wine in the cut where the robber done beat him up. Then he put the man upon his own mule, came to a boarding house, and he stayed there with him and nursed him.
Sweetgrass basket making is another tradition that has come under threat due to development and enclosure.
This basket was used by the slaves to winnow the rice, which was very lucrative. The rice would then be placed in these baskets, and they would winnow it, and once it hit the basket, it would separate the rice from the chaff.
There are 4 species which provide the supplies for basket weavers:
Sweetgrass, bulrush, long pine needles, and the palmetto. The tool, which is called a bone. Years ago, it was actually a bone from an animal that was used. That has evolved to become usually the handle of a spoon that's filed down and used to weave the baskets. Years ago, the sweetgrass, that is the primary raw material used to make the baskets, much of it has diminished as a result, again, the increase in residential and commercial development. Many of the locations where the basket makers would be able to just go freely and pull the sweetgrass Many of those locations either no longer exist, or if they do exist, they're in gated communities where the basket makers do not have access to. I'm a council member, and I'm also very much involved with the basket making culture, the Gullah. I'm in tune to the need to protect and preserve, and as a result of that, I share that with my fellow council members. And when I see that there are opportunities to address some of the challenges, I try to get my fellow council members kind of on the same page. 2006, after the Arthur Ravenel Bridge was being built, the town decided that we wanted to do the waterfront park at the foot of the bridge. One of the things that, on behalf of the organization, I asked council to consider building a Sweetgrass Cultural Arts Pavilion that would be a permanent fixture in that park. The town embraced that idea and thought, and the pavilion is a reality today. But we had to plan for that, and the town of Mount Pleasant worked very closely with us to make that happen. The town decided to incorporate sweetgrass plantings in the landscaping, which now is a source to harvest sweetgrass. Town center, there are, I think, 3 or 4 basket stands, new basket stands that sit right there off of 17. The owners of Town Center, they built those stands. They came to our organization and says, you know, we're doing some renovation at Town Center, and you know, we would like to build some new stands. You know, we want to make this a focal point. Highway 17 from the Isles of Palm is going to be expanded from a 4-lane highway to a 6-lane highway. When council was in the process of making decisions about doing the expansion, one of the things we were very much aware of, you got a significant number of basket stands on 17, and this widening project was going to impact them. We broke ground on the expansion project this past Monday. They are already widening the road. What we did, the town, we realized that there are developers and property owners along Highway 17. If we offered them an incentive to locate 1 or 2 basket stands on their property, and where they would build the stand, and they would be responsible for maintaining the area where the stand is, the town is willing to give developers an incentive of up to $15,000. Some developers who've already expressed an interest in doing that. And I think it would benefit everyone.